Thank you. justify. It's just so weird, they're right there. But anyway, I know it's a live stream. Hi, live stream people. So what we're talking about again, so we're answering that level 1 question, which is, how do we support the belief that God exists, right? Okay. And so remember, there were 3 lenses, 3 ways that we were going to look and answer that question. Does anybody remember the first one? From this side. I want this side. We already started on this side. They answered the first question, Helen. Thank you very much. What were the 3 lenses from level 1? They're like subjects in school. Do you remember them? Okay, history is one of them. Very good. I heard someone try to say biology. Okay, part of it, yes. What is the bigger umbrella for biology? Science. Very good. And then the third one, does anybody remember? We're going to start it today. It's like, I just feel like it's embodied by the guy who's got a statue who's like this. A P. But you know what? It starts with a different sound than P. Philosophy. Philosophy. Okay? So we're going to talk about philosophy today, okay? So, but I was just trying to do the thinker. You know, that's like the classic philosophy, right? They're all thinkers. So the first week we talked about science. If you remember, that's where we talked about intelligent design and specified specified complexity, you remember? And we talked about DNA and we talked about transcription. We were like all the way in there, right? Remember that? Okay. Then the second week, last week, we talked about the historical lens, right? What was written in history, right? That's in history textbooks that supports what we understand about our belief, okay? So that we know that Christ was a truly existing person. It was a person of history and was crucified. And then we also understand several other things about him through history, right? And that is another, evidence that our faith existed for such a long time and has stayed the same way for that long time, that our belief still remains the same. There's not that many falsehoods that really have that same characteristics, right? So that's one of the ways that we support. So this week we're going to talk about the philosophical lens, and I'm going to be over here for some reason because this is where the live stream is, right? Hello. Okay. So hi. So the philosophical lens, and then we're going to enter into level 2. Okay. So we're going to do a little bit of shifting in the middle today, but we're going to start with the philosophical lens, okay? So just as a reminder, these are the 4 levels, okay, of apologetics. I'm going to bring you back here. So as we said, level 1 is question of how do we support our belief that God exists? And then today we're going to tackle level 2. Okay, God exists, but how do we interact with him? What is the religion or belief system that best represents a compatible relationship with that God that we now believe exists? Is the God of the Christians the God that we're talking about? Or is it the polytheistic view of the Hinduism religion? Or is it the God of the Islamic religion? Or is it the God of the Jews? Is that the same God as ours? What is that, right? And so, but truly it's the question of what is that relationship? How do we characterize the relationship that is going to work best with that God, okay? This week we're going to try to stay discussion-based as much as possible. There's still a lot of material to get through, so we're going to talk. But I will take time to make sure that we have some discussions, because this material, particularly the philosophical stuff, it requires a little bit of thinking, a little bit of discussion, okay? Anybody, okay, this might be traumatic for some people. Anybody ever had like a Socratic seminar or something? Okay. It's not the funnest thing. We're not going to do Socratic seminar today. But the Socratic seminar, right, comes from Socrates, who is a philosopher. And it's a discussion-based tactic, and that's really how philosophy comes about, is you kind of have to discuss. You can't just stay in your own brain. Okay? So As a reminder, as we talked about science, history, and today, philosophy. So that's what we're going to talk about today. First is the question about the absurdity of life without God. So, anybody heard this thing, God is dead? Anybody heard that term before from history or from... Helen said something, yes? A movie, maybe? A movie, maybe? Okay, so this is where this comes from. God is dead, God remains dead, and we have killed him. This is written by a famous thinker, famous philosopher named Friedrich Nietzsche. Anybody heard Nietzsche before? Anybody heard this name? Sounds like a really fancy, like if you bring up, and Nietzsche says, that's what I feel like all TV shows probably bring up. Yeah, okay. He's a German guy who coined the phrase, God is dead. The phrase comes, and so I will say a lot of people who hold to sort of atheistic views of the universe, quote Nietzsche to sort of like reason, to use that reasoning brain to try to support their belief, right? And I do want to make sure that we understand that atheism is a belief, right? It's not the lack of belief. It is a belief, right? It is a belief that a God does not exist. So it's a very specific belief. It's a belief system, and that's why it requires support. So just like our belief requires support, their belief also requires a support. And so this is one of the folks that they use to support their belief. But I also want to take this phrase and what he said about it in the context of when he said it. So look at when he was born and look at when he died, right? This was in the industrial period in Germany, right? So at the time, all of these countries, and Germany is a little bit behind the United States, but at the time was going through an industrial period, right? Meaning what? Anybody, what does industrial mean? The industrial period. Okay, factories and machines. Okay, I like the visualization of the objects of that time. Yeah. So it's a focus of the country on what? On producing, on building, on using resources to make something else, right? That's essentially what before what was happening. It's kind of hard for us to imagine what's the industrial period without understanding what was before the industrial period, because we're kind of like post-industrial now, right? So what was happening before the industrial period? Anybody have an idea? Was that market revolution? I'm not sure what that is, but yes. Okay, yes, it's true. So I didn't know that has a name, but there was an uprising of markets at the time. So what does that mean? That means if I need something, I can go buy it, right? I don't have to do what? I don't have to grow it. I don't have to make it. I don't have to kill the cow and use all of the parts of the cow to support my lifestyle, right? I don't have to make clothes from its hide. I don't have to, cook beef. I don't have to use the dairy. I don't have to so on. So I don't have to do this way of living where I support myself and my family, right? I can now barter. I can trade, or I can use currency to go and pay someone for the work that they've done. Like Veronica says. Okay? So, do you understand my point? So, the Industrial Revolution was a time where, okay, now we're going to take that and run with it. So, if people can go and involve themselves in the markets, if people can go and buy things, we should produce those things so people can buy them because we want to make money. Right? So now there's not a self-reliance, now there's an industrial period, now we're producing, okay? So that's the point of that. And this is also, it comes in time at the same time, it's simultaneous with what's called the Age of Enlightenment. Anybody have an idea what that's about? Enlightenment. What does it mean? Started thinking outside the box, right? So it was after that time that we labeled that period and we called it the Age of Enlightenment, but at the time they were just like thinking. And so, just like you said, it's a period of time where we have like kind of a renewal of like a modern philosophy, right? We're starting to build a new thought process, okay? And this is what Nietzsche was part of.
Okay, so before the Age of Enlightenment, okay, so thinking outside the box, in other terms, we're thinking science now, right? What was happening before we were thinking science? Religion, right? What are some famous things that maybe religion said that science was like, no? One famous thing is in my mind. Okay, that's a huge one, right? That the Earth was the center of the universe. What else?
So keep in mind, so this was, Nietzsche existed far
Beyond that time.
Right? Because that was what, that was during the 1700s.
Mm-hmm.
That period of cosmic enlightenment, the new understanding of like how the Earth fits within the universe and how the Earth fits within our solar system. This was all in 1700s. So, but that's part of it, right?
Yeah.
That's sort of the scientific enlightenment.
So.
I know what she's getting to now.
Yeah, now you get it. So the other thing was like, right, the Earth is flat. And the Earth is not flat, right? And so you had basically what I want you to imagine is we're setting up ages of people being told, or, you know, maybe there's some countries where religion was dominant, like Catholicism in Rome, and they're being told, hey, this is what's going on, and then you have science disproving it. And so now you have people rising out of, you know, we got the Industrial Revolution going, more science. So now you have people like Nietzsche who have come from a recent history of people being, I don't know, like oppressed-ish, not oppressed, but like pigeonholed, right, in the way that they're thinking. They're only told to think one way. And now you have people like Nietzsche coming out and being like, well, there's another way to think. So if there's another way to think, then what else is going on? Does that make sense? Does that make sense how he was getting to this sentence? Like how his thoughts would have been forming? Any questions?
Okay. So let me get to the point here. So the point here is he believed the abandonment of God would increase humanity's belief in itself and allow it to transcend to the next level of greatness. So this is all in an effort, like this period of time is all in an effort to show the power or the ability of humankind to progress, right? That we rely on ourselves, like we're humans, we're the best thing ever that ever happened since sliced bread, right? Like we're like the best thing ever, so we're gonna keep progressing, and like not only in thought, but in industry and in economics and so on and so forth, right? Parallel, what was the parallel? What was happening in the United States at the exact time that Nietzsche was active? Anybody know what was happening in the like middle of the 1800s in the United States? Going back to school? Give me anything. Big thing happened in the middle of that century. Big thing. Civil War. Yes, the Civil War, right? So the Civil War, what was that all about? I mean, it was about a lot of things, but what was the biggest thing? Slavery and the abolishment of slavery, right? So in the United States, big ideas, right? Enlightenment. So you can see, like, we have this progress. We're talking about progress. Check out his mustache. Like, talk about progress, right? Okay, the belief in something outside of Earth was therefore holding humans back from reaching their full potential, right? So he's kind of thinking about this like, look, if you guys want to be the best you can ever be, you got to rely on yourself, okay? Like, you got to know that you can do it. If you're worried about this other, like, invisible thing that's out there that doesn't help us doesn't help us with our economy or whatever, like, you're not going to be achieving the best that you can, right? So he's just like, ignore that thing, right? Ignore that God thing that you talk about, because we need to be focused over here. That's the context, okay? So what is the point of a life that has no God and no eternity? Okay, like how absurd would it be to be on this earth with no God, with no eternity, with no reason for being here, right? So several hours or several years make no difference if you don't have an eternity. If you lived on this earth for like a minute versus if you lived here for 100 years, does it matter? Doesn't really matter, because what you accomplish on earth doesn't matter, right? So, but there's like this like kind of absurdity to it, right? Like, does anybody know what the word absurd mean? What does that mean? Like crazy, or what else? Crazy in what sense? Not Magnoon, but like what's the sense we're talking about? Maybe give me a different word for absurd. Okay. Yeah, I like unusual. How about like, what's that? Challenges? Let me see about challenges. Weird, I like weird, yeah. Or like, I like the word ridiculous. Something ridiculous, right? Something that's so like unbelievable, right? Doesn't make any sense. It's just absurd. It doesn't make sense, right? It doesn't calculate, doesn't go together, right? It's absurd. It's like if Abuna came out in like a purple suit, it just doesn't go together, right? It's absurd, okay? So there's an absurdity to it. So listen to this. So why would man be the only creature that asks why, right? There's all these other animals and beings on earth, but yet man is the only one that's going like, why am I here? Why? We're asking about a purpose. Dogs don't care about a purpose. Dogs are just happy to be here and then they die, right? It's sad. That's it. But there's no searching for meaning. There's no searching for purpose. So what is that? Why do we have that, but animals have an instinct that guides them? And so life without a God, life without a purpose is absurd. What's the point? So going back to what Nietzsche said, God is dead, we have orphaned ourselves. If you say God is dead, you have orphaned yourself. Because basically you just mentally killed off your father, right? You just said, that doesn't exist. And in that way, you've orphaned yourself. You've given yourself no meaning, no purpose, right? Okay, so without God's existence, so this is going to be a little bit the depressing part of our talk today. Without God's existence, we are marching to death, right? That's all we're doing. We're here to die. Like that is our only purpose. And when we die, that's it. It's lights out, it's black, there's nothing, we're dust, right? We're stardust, we came from dust and we're going to go to dust and that's it. So if there is no God or immortality, man and universe are doomed. We're doomed. We have nothing. There is no hope for us. We are here and then we leave. This means we have no ultimate meaning, ultimate value, or ultimate purpose. And I want to talk about, there are three words here, meaning, value, and purpose, that are same but different. But then also there's one very important word here, it's called ultimate, right? Ultimate or absolute, okay? We're gonna break this down a little bit. So this is one of the situations where we're gonna break something down like we talked about. So first of all, I want to hear about, we can skip the ultimate for a second, and I want you guys to help me understand, what is the difference between meaning, value, and purpose? Because this will help us with our further discussion. Can anybody start to tackle that a little bit? What is meaning, what's value, and what's purpose? Yeah, go ahead, Martin. Okay, I like that. Yes. What is its worth? Right. Okay, very good. So things have, so even though at face value, you guys did wonderful, even though at face value, you might look at something like this chair and think of this chair's meaning, its value, and its purpose are all kind of the same. We sometimes in our language, we use it like synonyms, right? We talk about the words meaning, value, and purpose kind of like the same. But I honestly did not do this exercise ahead of time, but let's do this. What is the meaning of this chair? What does this chair mean? Something that you sit on, okay. But if it is here, what does it mean? If you see this chair here, what does it mean? It's an object for you to sit on, so people sit here. Yes, as you said, yes. So you see a chair here, you're like, oh, people sit here. That is the meaning. Okay. What is its value? Huh? Rest? Okay, I like it. I like that. Okay, so it's something to be sat on, right? That's its value. Not only is it, but as you both said, there is, or you alluded to, is that its value may be different depending on who's using it, right? So the value for you right now is like, well, I'm sitting here because it's better to sit if some guy is going to be talking to me for like an hour, right? But what about for somebody who can't stand? What's its value? A lot, so much, right? It means that they can be here and be present still, but not have to stand, right? So they can sit. It has lots of value, worth, like you said. Okay, and then purpose. We kind of alluded to this already. Okay, comfort. Yes, that would be more, I think, value. But what about what is the purpose of this chair being here? For people to sit on it, right? Its purpose is to be sat on, but also, why here? Why right here? So that you can see better. This one's closer, so the purpose of this one is to be closer. Okay, so meaning, value, and purpose all have different, but we're going to get into that. More importantly, though, we're going to talk about this word ultimate, right? Ultimate meaning, ultimate value, and ultimate purpose. Okay, but first, you may have seen something like this before. Has anybody seen this before? Has anybody talked about accuracy and precision? Okay, this is like a science thing, okay? This is not going to be the first time, or not going to be the last time you see this. So I want to bring up accuracy and precision as an analogy or a way of understanding relative and ultimate, or relative and absolute, okay? So take a look. These are 3 targets, right? I'm sorry. Anybody want to correct me? 4, okay. I just want to keep you on your toes, okay? So there's 4. 4 targets, right? And do you see from the left to the right, we go from high to low? And on the far left, we have high accuracy and high precision. On the far right, we have low accuracy and low precision. Based on this alone, and especially the 2 that are in the middle, can anybody tell me what precision and what accuracy means? How do you differentiate accuracy and precision? Okay. Yes. So if you have both high accuracy and high precision, not only are you closely related to each other, right? You seem to be towards the same point, but also you're going to the point, right? Okay, so accuracy is talking about how close are you to the point? The point being the bullseye, right? Right? How close are you to the thing that you're going for? How accurate are you? How close to the truth are you, right? Whereas precision is more like we are all talking about the same thing. But if you have high precision and low accuracy, the thing might be here, and we could all be talking over here, and that's considered precise because we're all in this general area. But the thing that we're going for is over there, right? And we wouldn't know, okay? So that's accuracy and precision. So that's a very similar conversation as relative and absolute, right? Okay. So if you are looking at this from the godless perspective, how do we make meaning? Why do we mean? Well, we can mean to others, right? We can be relatively useful. We can mean something to somebody just because of our relationship with the next person, right? I can serve other people. I can be Mother Teresa, right? I can donate to the poor. I can care for the elderly. I can, feed the sick. I can do all the things, right? So I can be meaningful to someone else, or to animals, or to nature, right? That's precision, right? Like I can be relatively important to somebody, but what is my absolute meaning? What does that matter if we all die? Right? So do I have absolute meaning? Do I have accuracy? Right? Am I accurate? Am I getting to the point? Is there a point to get to? If there's no God, there's no point. Right? So that's does everybody kind of follow that? Okay, because that can be a little bit difficult. So if there's no God, there is no point. There is no bullseye that you're shooting for. No purpose. And if you're going for a bullseye, it doesn't exist because there is no God. Does that make sense? So that's absurd. Did you have a question? No. So does the precision and accuracy analogy, does that kind of make sense, what I'm talking about? Like you can define whatever meaning that you want. Like we can say that it's a good thing this, right? Or a bad thing that. And we're going to get to that in a second. But ultimately, if there is no bullseye, then we're just picking a target and going for it, right? Yeah. We're going to get to it. Thank you so much for bringing that up. So I rearranged them to show you this. On the left is the best that we can do without a God, right? On the left is the best that we can do without a God. So we can go from the furthest left to the second one, right? In the purple box, we can go from low accuracy, low precision to low accuracy and high precision. But there's no accuracy, right? No accuracy because there is no bullseye. I couldn't figure out how to erase the bullseye, so I didn't erase it, but there's no bullseye, right? We don't have one, okay? But on the right is what our aim is, right? We have a bullseye. We have a God. We have a meaning. And it's there, it's in the middle, and we're trying to be precise about it, right? We're trying to be accurate. So, the Big Bang. So, we understand both from science and from our belief that the creation started at one time, whether that we call it the Big Bang or we call it, Genesis chapter 1. We can call it whatever we want to, but we know that the universe started at one time. Okay, so why did something start that has no meaning? Right? So in a hypothetical situation where the universe was never born, would it make a difference? If the universe never existed, is that okay? That would be really weird. Right? Do things just happen because no reason at all? Why would this big thing happen with no ultimate gain, right? The universe is doomed. So this is our belief now because we've adopted this new godless belief. The universe is doomed anyway because it constantly expands, which causes thermal cooling of all its contents and a procession towards a black hole. That's it. We're just all going towards a black hole and that's game over, okay? Therefore, existence is unnecessary. It never needed to exist in the first place. That seems kind of what? Absurd, right? That's the absurdity. It's like, that seems really ridiculous, right? Okay. So even if you and the universe were forever, let's say, like I granted you, now I'm from this godless belief, I granted you, okay, fine, we're gonna live forever. Like the universe is gonna exist forever. There is no black hole, there's no thermal cooling, and you and I are both immortal. Does that matter? If we're immortal, but we have no God? Still, no bullseye, right? No point, no truth, right? Okay. So we're going to talk about value now. If there is no difference, good and bad does not matter to your point. So we all end in the grave. Doesn't matter if you're good or bad, because there is no bullseye. There is no point, okay? Dostoyavsky. Anybody know a work by the famous Dostoyavsky besides our literature expert here? Who's this guy, Dostoyavsky? Based on his name, where does he come from? What's that? You can stereotype his name. Dostoyevsky. Someone said Russian? Okay, yeah, he's a Russian guy. So he was a Russian guy in the, early 1900s. And he writes a very dense book called Crime and Punishment. But basically he says, if there is no immortality, then all things are permitted. If we are here temporarily, basically, let's put it this way. What he's saying is YOLO. That's what he's saying, is YOLO. You only live once, so go for it. Do it. Whatever you want, because that's it. It's temporary. We're only here to enjoy ourselves. We can be selfish because there is no point, right? If you go out of your way to help someone, why? My bad. 1800s. My bad. Overlaps with Nietzsche.
He's actually he's religious. So he comes from a religious standpoint. So he's saying, if this is true, then why not just do whatever But he was around at the same time that Nietzsche was around, so they're kind of a little bit.
How are you guys? So I want you to take a step in this direction with me, and say, there's no God. We are here temporarily. What would you do? Why? Okay, so what do you do now? Okay, we're going to take a step over here. So we're in a society, we're in a belief system where God exists and we have the opportunity for immortal life, right? So what do we do differently here? Yeah. How do you know that? How do you know what's right and what's wrong? Because God said so, right? We have a God and He said so. He said this is. He gave us 10 commandments at the minimum, right? He gave us 10 commandments. Told us these are right things. So imagine before the 10 commandments. How do we know what's right and what's wrong? I think we're so beyond the 10 commandments now. We're like, okay, we just know how to. So what we're talking about right now is not just that point, but the precision too, right? So there's two things: accuracy and precision. So we're trying to be accurate and precise, right? So relatively important to the next person, and going towards a point, right? So what we're talking about with what you just said as far as the right and wrong is that how do we measure that relativity? How do we measure that distance between 2 points? That's called ethics, right? Ethics is how do we deal with another human? What is the best way to deal with another human? Has anybody ever taken an ethics class or ever talked about ethics before? What did you learn in that class? If you just one statement that overarches that whole understanding of ethics, to me, what does it mean to you? Okay, like the golden rule, right? Treat people the way you want to be treated. So that is an ethical principle, right? That's like how you treat others. But also what I learned in my ethics classes is like everyone and their mom has a different ethical perspective, right? We all have a different way of looking at how the best way is to interact with a fellow human, okay? But best, that word best way to interact, that has no absolute meaning or value unless there's a goal, there's a purpose, right? Okay. Did I beat a dead horse? Are we okay with that? Stop me if this is getting weird. Okay. Without God, there is no objective standard of right and wrong, which is what we talked about, right? Only culture would dictate right and wrong. So it would just be our culture that says, if you do this, you're a good person. If you do this, you're a bad person, and that's it. That's all we have, okay? So bringing us back here, which we talked about, okay? So finally is the absurdity of a no-purpose life, right? So if there's only death, then what is the goal of life? If we are here temporarily and then we die, why did we live? Rhetorical question. I don't think there's an answer. What is the purpose of man's existence? Yeah. Why do we exist? Why is there a guy that's like us with this body on this earth? Why? Why? No, this is a rhetorical question. Because I want you, in your mind, I hope that there's a blank, right? If you have an answer, please enlighten us. But trust me, I don't think you're going to find one, because there would not be, right? If you're here temporarily and there is no God and there is no immortal life, there is no existence beyond death. Why are we here? Why did it happen that we have to be here? Why does this earth exist? Why does this universe exist? What is the purpose? Remember, what did we say the purpose of this chair was? To be sat on, right? To be sat on. What is the purpose of human?
What is the purpose of our desire to stay alive? Just basics, right? Like, if someone...
Why should we live? Huh? Why? I don't have an answer. The man and the universe are accidents. We're just here. We're like little insects. We're like, bugs and humans and frogs are the same. We just happen to exist because of all the things that happened that made us exist, and then that is it. Right? We would simply become a result of our genetic and environmental conditions. Okay. So this is the problem of atheism. And remember, atheism is a what? It is a belief. Okay? So they have to believe in it, just the same that we have to believe in our belief, and in some cases, they have to believe more. Okay. It is impossible for man to live consistently and happily within a framework that God does not exist. I just want you to kind of think how depressed you got, thinking from that mindset. It's depressing to think about, like, okay, so that's where that sort of existentialism comes from, that nihilism. Like, what is if there is no God, why do I exist? Why don't I just die? Why does it matter, right? So it's depressing. There is no happiness in it. And so it is impossible for man to be actually happy, truly happy, without a meaning or value or purpose. Jean-Paul Sartre, French dude who lived in the last century, says, well, it's okay. You don't have to have meaning. You can make a meaning. Make one. Okay, so you can freely choose a course of action. You can put your bullseye. You just go up there and draw a bullseye and then stand back here and see if you can shoot for it. Good for you. So basically what he's saying is that you can pretend there was a bullseye there. Pretend, you make it. And you pretend. Is that absolute value and purpose? No, why? Why? What did we say about this? Okay, you're getting to it, yeah? What did we say about this? If everybody can make their own bullseye, not everybody's going to make it in the same spot. There is no central truth. There is no central purpose. There is no central goal, right? Everybody draws, it's like pin the tail on the donkey. Everybody just puts it wherever they feel like it, right? Nobody has that foresight. Nobody has knowledge to say the best goal is right there. Nobody has that, right? We're all limited. And Jean-Paul Sartre understands that. But it's okay because we're gonna draw it for ourselves. We're gonna make it ourselves, right? So how do you make meaning for something that is objectively meaningless? It's funny, right? Because philosophically it doesn't make sense. If I have no meaning, how do I make a meaning? I have no meaning. Me, this Tim, has no meaning. How do I go and make something that I don't have? We have to, so if I was Jean-Paul Sartre, my response to that would be, well, we have to organize ourselves somehow. We have to progress. We have to move in a direction, some direction. Pick one, but we have to go there. And we have to elect leaders to help us get to there. Whatever there is. But there is progress. We're going to just go up. But I don't know where up is. It might be down somewhere else, but it's up this way. Right? It's meeting at a path, at a cross section of many paths, and saying, this one, that's the one. That one seems the best. In the end, from what I can tell here, there's some green bushes and maybe some fruits over there, and maybe that's the way I want to go. That place kind of looks thorny or very narrow, and I'm not sure I want to go down that one. Okay, so I'm going to pick this one. Pick one. And we are going to organize ourselves in this, hopefully, the best direction. But you know what? But all secretly, it doesn't matter because we have no meaning and we have no purpose. Right? Does anybody else have a response? Jean-Paul Sartre. No? Who can answer that question? Ask your question again. Thoughts? It's a wonderful question. Tough one to answer. Think about it. Okay? Think about it. We'll talk about it later. Okay, so this is Abuna mentions this famous book called The Time Machine by H.G. Wells. This was the first time, so I want you to think about this. This was the first time anybody had ever thought about a time machine. So this is where we get that word from, time machine. We get it from this book. So this was in the late 1800s. H.G. Wells wrote this story about a man who builds a machine and goes back in time. In fact, he also goes forward in time. He goes forward in time and he sees this. The world was silent, all the sounds of man, cries of birds, hum of insects, all was over. The earth and the universe had ended. There was no earth and universe at the point in time that he went with his time machine. Then what does he do? Okay? What does he do? He comes back to his original time period and puts away the time machine and continues. And that's the end of the book. Think about that. What do you think he's feeling? What do you think he had to overcome to do that? To go and see that nothing exists and then to come back to where he was. Right? How would that make you feel if you were in his position? How would you feel? How would you feel if you took a time machine? Let's say, okay, let's make it as like, I think, life size as possible. I gave you a time machine, Helen. I gave Helen a time machine. All of you guys are welcome to it. We literally just put 2025 there. How many years is that from now? 3 years? Max? Okay. I put 2025. This church doesn't exist. Rancho Cucamonga doesn't exist. California doesn't exist. The earth doesn't exist. You look for it, it's just not there in the solar system. None of that exists. But it's okay. Everything else exists, but just those don't. And you can't live anywhere. Okay? Would you come back to 2022? What do you have? So what? I heard that big sigh. Say what was on your mind, man.
Right now you're looking at it, I feel like you're looking at it from non-Christian standpoint. Like right now you're saying like, you're looking at the future, you see that there's like chaos in the world.
And that.
But if you're looking from a Christian standpoint, I would want to go back, make sure the years I have left in my life, I abide by the commandments, by all this stuff, so I can reach my next.
Wait, I have a question. Are we talking like,
Like that's what I'm asking. I really like, what standpoint are we talking from? Like, Christian
are we talking
standpoint?
about the purpose or no purpose without God? Which one are you talking about? 'Cause I'm confused.
Time machine.
All I have is a time machine. I don't want to say حاجة.
If you're gonna look at it from a non-religion perspective, and you go through years and see nothing, I think we should come back and change today, so the future will not look like that.
Yes. So you're saying, okay, so but what would be the purpose of saving it? To live longer so that what? Besides the point, right? I hear you because that was my first thought. But yeah, okay, fine. Let's say I can save the universe. Why? What's the point, man? YOLO. You have. I want you to list all the things that you ever wanted to do. You want to jump out of an airplane. You want to bungee jump. You want to travel across the world, go to every country, eat, collect every a monopoly from McDonald's. Just whatever. All your goals. Write them all down. Can you accomplish those in 3 years? Huh? Maybe. Probably. If I just gave you 3 years and said, here's $1 bajillion, could you do it? Probably. Right? What would be the purpose of living after that? The universe is going to end. Is that okay? كله تمام? Go home, sleep fine? Okay. Absurd. Okay? So if given two choices, one being life, and I love this, by the way, I love it because it boils it down. If giving two choices, one being life and meaning and purpose, and the other being death, chance, and despair, what would you choose? The first one, right? Okay. But it makes sense when you look at this, but I also want you to just listen to this guy, Pascal. Anybody heard about this guy, Pascal, before? Anybody heard this guy's name? Anybody heard about Pascal's triangle, Pascal's law? Yeah, it's a dumb triangle thing, right? Okay, so Pascal was who? He was a mathematician, he was a philosopher, he was a bunch of stuff. But he has just this logical way of thinking about things. And he has this wager. He has what's a wager? Anybody know what a wager is? What's a wager? What's the word wager mean? A deal, okay, or like a bet, a gamble, right? So if you were to thank you, good job, Google, good job. But it is a bet, right? I bet you, or I would gamble in a certain way because X, right? So he has a gamble, he has a wager. And I'm sorry, I know that the quality of the picture is not great, but I'm going to read it to you. If there is a God, he is infinitely incomprehensible. I'm not going to understand this God, right? He is so far beyond my comprehension. He is infinitely beyond my comprehension, right? Reason can decide nothing here. I cannot use, apologetics is only useful between man and man. right? Apologetics is not useful between man and God. God does not need my reasoning for him to exist. He's there. I am here. So apologetics is really for me and for men, right? So, but what he's saying is reason can decide nothing here. You have to guess. You have to wager. You cannot find out if there is a God. There's no scientific anything. There's no activity that you can do to check and see if there is a God, right? Anybody ever did like a one of those science demos where you titrate and see if your pH level is a certain whatever and it turns a color? No, the whole thing? No? Does that not happen yet? Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so you're detecting something in this glass, this beaker. You're like, okay, I want my hydrogen ion percentage to be this much. You can't do that with God. So you have to guess. You have to wager. You have to bet. Does that make sense? You have to place your bet ahead of time. Does it kind of feel like sometimes we live like that? We just have to bet. We have to guess. We have to gamble. No? Right? We do this all the time. We bet, we guess all the time, right? We bet that our gas tank is going to get us to our next. But okay, so let's say it's broken. It's a guess. We do it all the time. I'll probably make it to where I'm going with the gas that I have, right? Okay, we all the time, right? I probably still have socks left in my drawer, right? There's probably a fork still in that drawer, right? It's a guess, bet, probability, right? Okay, I can't check that drawer without checking it, but I can guess, right? Okay, let us weigh the gain and the loss in wagering that God is. There is an infinity of infinitely happy life to gain. If you gain all. If you lose nothing. Wager then without hesitation that he is. Okay. He wrote it all philosophically. It's okay, because the next slide is going to explain it. This is the basic, right? This is the most basic form of apologetics that you can find. I dare you to try to find a more basic apologetic belief than this one, right? This is an argument. Okay, we're going to go sleep now. This is an argument, right? Okay. What happened here? So if you believe in God, top left box. If you believe in God and God exists, good for you. Because guess what? You have the heavenly kingdom to inherit. Right? If you believe in God and God doesn't exist, all right. Well, at least what we did is precision. There was no bullseye, but at least we're precise. And whatever, even if we weren't precise, it's all good. No big deal. I believed in God and God didn't exist, it's not a big problem. But if I don't believe in God and God exists, that's harsh, man, right? Because you just lost everything. But let's say you don't believe in God and God doesn't exist. It's okay. Okay, we're gonna. There's a whole section here that we didn't get to, and we're over the hour. That's fine. We will run through it next week. But I think that was important, that piece that we went through, because I wanted you to really start to think like a philosopher and understand the absurdity that we talked about, right? The absurdity of no meaning, no value, and no purpose. So next week, Vicky's going to take over. So you have the honor of looking into her weird, absurd brain. And then she's going to pick up where we left off with level 2, and then probably have to run through the rest of 3. Probably 3, and then I'll take over from there. Yeah. That's what we'll do. So the fifth week, we're going to be doing a review. So don't worry too much about the material that's already there for you. I want you to look at it, but I don't want you to absolutely have to read it, because we're going to make a study guide so that you guys can help have a better breakdown of how all the concepts come down. That's going to be there for you in the fifth week. But the fifth week is also going to have the last part of level 4. And that's it. Cool. Gigi has an announcement.
Okay, guys. Next week, not the next week, the week after, we're going to have the mini festival for our church. I need your help. I need your help serving during that day. We're going to start after liturgy, so it's going to be like from 11. Let's day that. We were discussing that I don't, and some of maybe the young kids want to have. لأن بيقول لك مش ممكن كل مرة هنعمل الفestival ده كل شهرين. فلو كل شهرين كنسلنا Sunday school too much. فلو احنا قلنا نص ساعة بس Sunday school هناخدها بسرعة like after liturgy وبعد كده نستارت الفestival. The 31st, the 30th. The 30th is going to be our new festival. It's going to be done every 2 months, as Abuna John was wishing. We have different kind of stations. We have 7 stations. The first 4 games for the kids, no jumpers and stuff like that. But I mean things like when you go Chuck E. Cheese and then shooting basket, مش عارفة إيه, كل الحاجات دي. I need servants. I need 2 in each section. This is number 1. I have a silver section for the youth. The youth have it and then they prepare for it. I need also people there. There's juice section. I mean, there's so many things. I need people to send me that they are in and don't put us in whatever section. Of course, I need help in, I know you guys might say no, but I need help in the bathroom. Why? Because last festival اللي كان 3 days انتوا شفتوا حصل ايه وشفتوا الميه وشفتوا العيال بيرموا الازايز جوه التواليت ف just destroy it and we spent like almost $900 just to get a guy to help us cleanse everything. So what I want to do is just monitoring who's gonna go with A يعني رايحين يلعبوا ولا رايحين do their business يعني. Just to make sure that everything is going to be in a good shape. It's just a 1 day, so I don't want to ruin this day. I want it to be excellent with your help. Okay, with your help. So please. يعني رايح جاي. لا رايح جاي يعني inspecting كده شوف في حاجة عاوز تتعمل حاجة وأنا هبقى موجودة برضو في الباثروم وأشوف حد تاني من الكبار يساعدنا ولو في أي حاجة عايز تتشيل تراش بتاعها أعملها مش مشاكل. I mean I need help بس. I'm trying to do it right now because I have like another week, so I'm trying to put everything in order. But I need to know who is willing to help, because I need to know how many servants. Please, مش عايزة كده. أنا عاوزة اسمك. Send me the اسم 909 my phone number 909-437-4623. Just send me. My name is Helen. I will do this. بس. فاهمة؟ 7. Yes, from 11 to 7. Yeah, from 11 to 7. So the whole day. Again, زي الفestival بتاعنا. يعني كأننا بنعمل بس 1 day per each 2 months. طبعا عايزة أقول لكم حاجة إن إحنا في ناس هنا تشتغل كتير وتحط التنس. we need help برضه on Saturday. فساتردي بالليل عاوزين نحضر التنس عايزين نحضر كل حاجة. لو you guys willing to help them, that's perfect. You can talk to Romani or Bishoy and tell them that we're going to go ahead and help. Okay? ماشي? And also George needs help. عنده قسم عندنا section بتاع toys, في blankets, حاجة في lots of services. So you guys, the youth of the church, the pillars of the church. So I need your help. So don't forget, please. Okay? Huh? بالحق ده حاجة حلوة برضو. جت كده coincident ان الفestival بعديه على طول the whole saints day اللي احنا فأي حاجة تبقى left over هنبيعها برضو. فاهميني؟ يعني أي حاجة food left over, juice left over, حاجات من دي. We're gonna stay and sell it more than يعني فاهمه يعني ممكن الاطفال يلعبوا وانتوا بقى ايه برضو تاخدوا بالكم منه فاللي قادر يعمل كمان يوم الاثنين on Monday برضو put his name or her name. Yeah, 6 to 8. It's just 2 hours. Yeah. Okay. ماشي يا ولاد اتفقوا بقى.
short kid, or like, he didn't